Welcome back, everyone. Oh, look at this. I have a light here on my face. Welcome back, everyone, to the Briones Pickleball podcast. This is real. This is us.
This is us.
Right, Ty?
Right. This is real. This is authentic.
Today we have Ty Woody in the house, and he is a professional sports performance coach.
That's me.
Right? Did I say it right? Not trainer.
Not trainer, sports performance coach.
Okay, so why don't you like the word why don't you like the word trainer?
It's just, I think it can have sometimes you can get kind of a negative connotation or negative thought in your head when you hear the word trainer.
Okay, well, expand, please.
Coach, I know when I think of a coach, that's just someone that's just locked in, owning their craft and is great at what they do. And sometimes when I hear the word trainer, I'm like, not that there's some great trainers out there, for sure. But sometimes when I hear the word trainer, people kind of think like people sometimes kind of roll their eyes at it. But if you say coach, that's got some authority to it.
All right. Well, we got Ty in the house today. We're going to be talking about we're going to talk about pickleball. We're going to talk about
everything.
We're going to talk about, obviously, he's a performance coach, so we're going to talk about some exercises, maybe some injury prevention things like that, and kind of all things to go with training. Maybe you're on the court a lot. Maybe you're on the court a little. Ty, I know that you don't watch a ton of our podcasts, which is totally fine. He doesn't watch a ton of any podcasts, to be fair.
It's true. I really don't.
But the people who watch this, Ty, and listen to this, I would say are pretty serious about pickleball. They love the game, and also, man, this light is really in my face. Also, some of them, I would say a lot of them probably don't have a training regimen, and I would also say a lot of them may or may not be playing a sport for the first time ever, or for the first time in a long time, right? So
sounds right.
That's just it. Ty, how'd you get into the game? How long have you been training, or how long have you been coaching?
There we go.
Coaching before pickleball, obviously you were training and coaching people, sports performance wise before pickleball. But how'd you get in?
Yeah.
And what do you do now?
I'll try to give you the spark notes of it all.
Go ahead.
So I went to ASU, got my bachelor's in exercise science. Senior year, had to do an internship to graduate, worked at a private sector facility up in Scottsdale. And then once I was done there, got hired on afterwards, and I worked up there for so that was 2019. Worked there for about 2 years, I think it was, 2.5. I mean, and I worked with from, baseball, basketball, football, lacrosse, golf. I mean, we had such a wide variety. And I learned a lot of really great things just about training athletes, because I think that's something for pickleball players, whether you're brand new or whether you're a pro, you have to remember you're playing a sport. You guys are athletes. You need to train like athletes, right?
Well, some people call it a sport, at least.
I call it a sport too. I don't, you're doing the same athletic movements every other sport does. You're just doing it in a small space.
There you go. I like that.
It's a sport.
I like that.
It's a sport. And so gained a lot of experience there. And then I went to Legacy Sports Complex, which I think it's Arizona Athletic Grounds now. That might be its newest name.
Hey, Caden, my co-host who's not here, worked there.
Yep.
And that's where you guys met there, right?
Yep. And that's where we're going to lead into it. And so, I went to Legacy, and when I got there, I was working in the performance center there as one of the coaches, and the pickleball crew. So shout out to Victor Rodrigo, Caden Niemoff, Ryan Treffry. Those three super friendly people, very kind, really introduced me to the world of pickleball. And they kind of just were always really friendly, wanted to collaborate, do stuff together. And so, I asked them one day, I was like, does sports performance training exist in pickleball? I'm like, is that even a thing? And they're like, not really. And I was like, why not? And they're like, I don't know. You just don't do it. And I was like, well, we're going to change that.
And when was this, or what year?
This was, by the time I got to Legacy, we were in 22 or 21?
Okay.
It was right after COVID. So
but this is early on. This is not early, super early on, but you know, it's grown in the past 3 years.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, we'll say 21 or 22, whatever it is. But that's really when I first got introduced to the world of pickleball and just starting to see it a little bit and understand it a little bit better. And then, you know, started working with all three of them, just kind of doing some things and just, honestly, just asking questions of, like, I just ask a bunch of questions. I love learning. So it was just asking about the sport, the different demands of the sport, and all these different kinds of things.
Yeah.
You know, and then as I kept going along, you know, I had my very first group of old ladies, and I have that picture of it still on my phone. I post it every single year.
Oh, shoot. We should pull it up, man.
I can get it to you.
All right.
And I never forget it because that's where I started.
First group of ladies that...
My first group of pickleball players ever.
That played with you, that trained with you?
That trained with me in the weight room.
Got you.
Yeah, my very first group that ever did it. So I never forget who they are.
Awesome.
They're awesome people. And so, yeah, just really started growing. Next thing I know, I start meeting some pro players. I start meeting some aspiring pro players. And really, I mean, so many people just poured into me with, like, I've had 3-hour whiteboard sessions breaking down the sport. Judith knows that. Castillo. We sat down and
Judith.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
Nice.
broke down the sport. We've broken down the sport many, many times. And, you know, it's just so many people have been able to help me answer questions. And so then fast forward to last October, so 23, and I leave Legacy. And I just was like, you know, I was just going back and forth. Do I want to commit and go fully into this thing or not? And I finally I did it, and I went and I created Pickleball Sports Performance because, you know, my goal is I'm going to be the guy that you go see when you're trying to improve your game, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the person you go see, and just teaching and educating players on the sport, right? I play it now. I've played way more, watched way more, seen way more, everything pickleball than I ever thought I would in my life. But this is my world now.
Awesome.
And
So how long have you been playing now?
I've been playing for barely over a year right now, maybe like a year and a month or something like that.
And what level would you say you're at?
If it's a great day, I'm a 4.5. If it's not a great day, I'm like a 4.0 somewhere.
Okay, so we got a swinging
it's
0.5 pendulum, right?
Honestly, realistically, most days it's probably around like the 4.0, 4.25.
Okay.
That's if I'm having a great day, and I think most people can understand that. If it's a great day, we're on top of the world.
Okay.
But otherwise, we're probably still
Got
a
it.
little bit lower down there. But I
Cool,
want to
man.
be by 4.5 by the end of the year. That's the goal.
There's only a couple months, man.
We're there.
Okay.
We're there. It's
right.
just a little refinements.
Cool, man. What is something, Ty, that so you got into the space, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is something that like surprised you about pickleball? And again, stay tuned to everyone watching because we're gonna get into very, very practical things. If you've ever dealt with injury, or if you want to learn about warming up and cooling down, all that stuff, we're gonna get into all that stuff. But Ty, what are some things that kind of surprised you, or maybe was different than other sports when it comes to training or coaching, or is it generally all the same? Like what have you learned? What have you learned specifically for pickleball that the viewers and listeners can kind of take away, or something that was eye opening to you?
Well, pickleball is funny. Pickleball players are really funny. What cracks me up with pickleball players is they, for some reason, think they're the exception to everything.
Okay,
It's
so
very
what do you mean?
odd. So every other sport,
Yeah.
you warm up before you play. You warm up before you practice. You warm up before you go play a game. You are in the weight room. You are doing all these things. Every other sport does this.
Yeah.
For some reason, pickleball players think they don't need to. That was one of the biggest eye-opening things to me. You know, warming up to pickleball players, well, let's just go dink. Let's just get on the court and start hitting. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
you know, even that was mind-blowing to me.
So I'm going to try to, I don't know what the word is, break that down. But like, I wonder, Ty, is it because a lot of people at different demographics are just playing recreationally that usually don't play sports, or you think it's a pickleball thing? So for example, I'm trying to think of another sport that all these different ages, all these different people are playing a sport for the first time ever, that it's just a mass growth. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, obviously, like we're not going to see like 40, 50, 60-year-olds like randomly take up basketball.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. You think it's that, or do you think it's a pickleball thing?
I think it's a mixture of not necessarily. I think it's an educational piece of maybe not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
And then, but on the flip side, there's also the pickleball community part of it where it's not the norm. It is, you're an outlier if you do that, right? Like me, when I go play on a court, I could be the youngest guy there and I'm the only person warming up.
Got it.
The only one.
And then are people like giving you like a what is
yeah
this?
Then sometimes you get the side eye, or sometimes you get the like, I don't need to warm up, I'm doing it, it's fine, it's not a big deal. And it's like, all right, well, when you're hurting and I'm not hurting, like, there's a reason for that. And so I think a lot of it is people understand, because that's why people are getting hurt. I mean, I'm sure all the recent statistics of the last couple of years are showing injuries and all that stuff for pickleball people. And it's like, this is a sport. I don't care what anybody says. This is a sport. You have to prepare your body to go do something, especially, that's what makes pickleball so friendly and so fun, is like anyone can go, right?
Yeah.
We could just go pick up a paddle, go play, have some fun with people. It's awesome. Like, that's what makes it great. But you have to remember, you can't have done nothing for who knows how long, and then just go and try to run around because you don't think you're going to, and then
there's a ball
you're like, oh, I gotta go, and then just pop my calf, or there goes my shoulder, there goes this, and like, I think people, it's a mixture of just being educated on what to do and how to do it, and being adjusted to the different age groups and levels of people. And then on the other side of it, I think there's a stigma, or there's kind of like oh, you're weird if you do that. Like, I don't want to be the odd person out that's warming up over here on the side while everyone else is just doing whatever. I think it's a mixture of both. Got it. Sure.
Next game, you go out there and play. Before you start playing, get the 3 other players with you and lead a warm up. Kudos. Leave a comment below if you might win a prize.
Lead from the front. Lead from the front. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. That's good. All right. So Ty, let's get into some. There's a lot to get to, but let's talk about. You've been in the sport for about, like you said, a year or so.
I've been playing for about a year, but I've been really invested into it for probably about 2 years.
Okay, so 2 years. So what are the most common injuries that you see? Let's go top 3. And because I want to make this practical for people, because if they've had an injury, then they can relate, right? But top 3 that you see, and then from those 3, like, what are some practical things that people can do to avoid them?
I would say, off the top of my head, I would say probably elbows, shoulders, and knees.
Elbows, shoulders, and knees. Okay, so what do you see? Let's start with elbows. Are you talking about specifically like tennis elbow, or are you talking about something else?
Usually tennis elbow, but just arm pain in general. Like, I know sometimes for me, I'll get it on the inside, so like the UCL point. So tennis elbow is all out here. Yeah. But I sometimes get it in here, but that's just because I'll like flick and do something funky with my arm, and it just get tights really quick. But yeah, I would say for a lot of people with the tennis elbow, and then even a little bit going down a little bit lower, but a lot of it is down right in here, and a lot of that though is just from lack of preparation from somebody. So like, they didn't warm up at all. Like, they didn't warm up the arm and the shoulder properly to get things moving easier. But also, pickleball is, like, it's very wristy. There's a lot of rotation, a lot of movements going on down here. And for a lot of players, when in life have they done that? Like, when in life are you doing this? When in life and every day are we twisting and doing all these things and moving my arms so much like that? And if you have no racket background, you're not doing that. And so you're going from, doing nothing to all of a sudden, pickleball people are addicts. They go 3-4 hours, 5, 6, 7 days a week, and all of a sudden you went from doing nothing to, well, you just flared this up. It's like, like, no, it's gonna hurt it.
I get it. All right, so again, we can get really specific. You said, I don't even know what's called, inside of the elbow, outside of the elbow, but what are some? Okay, we can do it right here. 1 exercise, 2 exercises that anyone can do. Just to warm up their arm.
Just to warm it up their arm.
Yeah. Like what?
I mean,
what is it?
Super. I mean, if we're talking super basic,
We're seeing super basic.
Even just, doing, so you're like your wrist and your arm can do a few different movements, right? Getting it rotate up, right? Getting it to rotate down.
So with a weight in your hand, or just literally doing
sometimes it depends on who you are. Sometimes you could literally just do those things and it's fine. Or you could have like a dumbbell at the house or like a hammer or something and just warming it up, or doing, flexion extension at the wrist, and being able to do flexion extension at the wrist from
this way. So I have a fist out. If you're listening to this, I have a fist out like this, and then just moving it up and down.
Just nice and easy.
And then this way.
Flexing, and then flipping it, and flexing the wrist, extending the wrist, what we call supination, where you're just rotating your palm up like that.
Now, does this tie? I'll go back to me. Does this actually stretch or warm up any of the muscles right here? So like in your elbow, like doing this even?
So it'll help get all this warmed up, right? And so remember, really important for players to know, oftentimes the source of the pain is not the issue. There is something else that is causing something to hurt.
Can you give an example of that?
So
like a very clear one.
A super simple example could be, I'm trying to think of one. All right. Like, what's a super easy one? Now you got me on the spot. What's a super easy one? Could be like, okay, let's think about shoulders, right?
Sure.
This will kind of go with the shoulder really well.
Yeah.
So people get a lot of shoulder pain back here when they're doing certain motions, right?
Okay.
Like, all right, when you're hitting and you're rotating, you're doing certain stuff.
Yeah.
Your shoulder could be really hurting, and like your rotator cuffs could be really hurting.
Got it.
Right? But you need to look at other things. Like what people will then do, oh, my elbow really hurts or my shoulder really hurts. So we're taking a massage gun, we're digging into it to loosen it up, right? Or we're getting a massage to help loosen it up. When in fact, what we need to look at is your rotation. How are you actually rotating and doing something to generate your power, or using that to actually help you rotate and move your hips and your core? And like, is your upper back actually mobile enough to move, rather than just your shoulder and your arm sheer willing it, right? Because what we know is, all right, my shoulder really, really hurts, but we need to think past that, and we need to look at the why. Why does my shoulder really, really hurt? Like, and looking at, all right, is my back super tight? And so I can't rotate. So because I can't rotate, I'm now excessively loading into my shoulder be able to hit the ball, rather than actually being able to rotate my back and get myself to move. So that's something, I know there's a little in depth, but
well, what I hear then a little bit, I mean, obviously I'm a pickleball coach, not performance, but
not a trainer, coach,
but actually performance, on the court. But so what you're kind of saying is are you saying something other than technique has a lot to do with it, or how you move your body specifically?
Technique is, I mean, your technique is going to determine how your body's going to react to it and do it, right? If you are, but I mean, that it can go so far more in depth. Like, your technique needs to be proper, but lots of people have figured out, we have so many ways that we compensate and so many ways that we just don't move properly. And that's a person's technique, and it works, and they're hitting great shots and all that, but we need to work on getting you stronger and getting you to be able to open up and more mobile and being able to do certain things, so that we put less wear and tear on your body, right? You may be hitting a great shot, but after every single day you're done playing, your arm's dangling because you're like, I can't, like my arm is destroyed right now. Right?
I got it. Well, as a coach too, like one of the things that like developing power, like just for example, right? Like a forehand, developing max power. Like we just released a video on 3xing your the speed of your serve with less effort, right? And obviously, right, most people, what they do in their serve, they're super tight. They use their shoulder, they use their arm, and they're muscling it. But
sheer will.
That's kind of the thing, right? But obviously, we talk about rotation, we talk about hips, we talk about like actually being loose through the serve, and you can actually hit the ball a lot harder.
Turns out.
Than you think.
Turns out.
But kind of what you're talking about then.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That's key, right? I think a lot of players especially, you know, if you don't have a racket background and you or don't have a big sport background, you have to remember your power generator is not your arm and your elbow, right? Like it's not the shoulder and all these things. Like my arm, especially on like a serve or something, or like a drive,
Yeah.
it's just my connector to the paddle and it's going to give me my spin. But your power generator is everything down here, right? It's your core, it's your hips, it's your legs. That's what's giving you all your power. And that's what's going to help you. And it's going to make you have to do less than what you think, because instead of you just sheer willing it and just winding, it's like, just use your hips and it'll go nice and easy for you. So that's where, right? Because that's technique, right?
Yeah.
My technique could be to just sheer will it with my arm, and that's your technique, but it's bad for you long term. Whereas if we can make your technique more core and hips based and using your legs to generate your power, now we're in a great spot, right? And then you go into the weight room, you get stronger, get more mobile and all those things, and now we're cruising.
I like that, man. Cool. All right, so you said elbow. That was one. I think you said shoulder and knees. Oh, so what's a common thing for the shoulder? What's one thing that we can do? And yeah, go ahead. Just on that.
It might be hard for you to see. Can we get a full view? Can you see me up to here?
Yeah, we can see it. I mean, yeah. Oh, yes. Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So a super, super simple one is, I know we're going to write some letters, is like doing what I call YTAUs, right?
So
and
is that an acronym for something or what?
Nope. It's the literal letter we're going to make with our body, right? So Y.
Okay. Okay, everyone. So
I don't want to hit anything.
Why don't you know the YMCA song? Why?
I did.
Why don't you do those letters? Those letters are those
because
okay, let's go. Let's go Y. So everyone, you can stand up or sit down.
So you're just making a Y and keeping the hands back. Thumbs are back right here.
Gosh, dude, my back's tight.
Yeah, and you can see already when you're tight, and it's hard to do that.
Oh, so you want to open. So imagine the YMCA song. So you're like this, but you want to go as far back as possible.
No. You don't want to force the issue. Okay, this is good, but you don't want to be like,
okay.
Right? We don't want to force the issue.
Right, so Y.
Right? And then you can go to a T.
Okay. T.
Right? So then we're here, nice and easy, and just holding.
Nice.
Right? And just holding for a little bit. And then we go to an A. Right? Arms are straight out to the side, 45 degrees. There's your A.
There's my A.
And then here's your U, which is the touchdown field goal post. Right there.
That's a U.
Right? And there's lots of ways you can go about doing that. You could do 10 seconds at each position and just alternate 2-3 rounds. You could do reps where you're just lifting yourself up and down. You're getting here.
Now, let's say I'm in this T, am I extending?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to be straight, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to force the issue, right? If I'm like
just naturally relax.
Yeah. If you start grimacing and flinching and getting all extra tight, you're going too hard. Like, that now is becoming counterproductive, right? Just, push it a little, get in discomfort a little bit, but don't
I do feel that. All right. So shoulders. Yeah. Opening up. Okay. So that's shoulders. All right. Knees. Now we can't show it here, but maybe you can describe it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, hold on one sec.
And hydration. Maybe we talk about that. That's really important, right, Ty?
Hey, hydration is key.
Now, is this true? I've heard this. I go to a chiropractor pretty often, just to stay healthy. But the thing about I've heard this. The more hydrated your muscles, the more you drink, basically, and hydrate yourself, the less injuries you're gonna have. Is that really true? Or does that have some sort of weight to it?
I don't know. I am sure there's a study out there, so don't kill me. I'm sure there's a study out there that can give you definitive data of that stuff. But, I mean, water and hydration, especially if you're out here in Arizona, you need it. Your body's your body's going to start failing on you if you don't. Like, water is super important for every player. Not only just player, but just life. Water, we need it. There's a reason we need it, but with that too, because I drink a gallon of water a day. I was a football guy growing up, so I'm used to just carrying a gallon of water with me everywhere I go. Right. So I always drink a gallon every day. Not saying everybody needs to drink a gallon a day, but if you're really competing and you're an athlete, it's kind of a good rule of thumb to live by. But you got to make sure you're having enough electrolytes in your body too. Otherwise you can throw off your balance, and now you're on the other side where it's not good. Right? You need a little bit of both. So hydration, boost performance, I give it the thumbs up. I don't know any studies. I'm sure they're out there, but I would say hydration is a thumbs up for pretty much everybody. I'm not really sure there's a world where you're like, no, water is terrible for you.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to know that. So there's that. So that's okay. Let's get back to the knees.
Back to the knees.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
I'll start with what seems to be I'm seeing for why the knee problems are starting to happen in the first place.
Yeah.
A lot of it is, and it's hard to do because we just can't sit here, but I'll try my best.
Yeah, that's okay.
Is a lot of players just load into their knees, right? They sit up really tall and they kick their knees forward, right? And so they're like almost like in a super forward position like this all the time, and they're not loading into like their hamstrings or their glutes at all. So they're not loading back at all. And so when you lean and shoot your knees forward for hours and hours at a time, it starts to hurt. Like knees over toes, you can get a whole discussion into that.
Is that do you agree with that, or do you like the knees over toes guy?
Yeah, I mean, there's some really, really great stuff. I think what's really important is knees over your toes is not inherently bad for you. You do it in sports all the time. Like there's not, I mean, you're going to do it. Like whether you think you should or you shouldn't, you're going to do it in your sport at some point.
Yeah.
So if you better make sure you've trained your body to handle going into that position, right? Because again, whether you want to sit here and make that argument or not, you're going to do it. You don't want to go into a new movement position the first time on the court. Like that's how you get hurt.
Yeah.
You know?
Got it.
And so, yeah, the knees over toe stuff can be really great as long as it's progressed or regressed appropriately. Because there's some stuff like the knees over toes guy can do that I'm like, I would tear everything right now if I tried
Got
that.
it. Well, you got to work up to it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really important for people to understand is, and I mean, that's how I believe in my training too, is having appropriate progressions and regressions for different people, because we can't all just go out there and sit there in a split squat and shoot our knees about, a foot forward like that. So, but with that all kind of coming together is a lot of players just load their knees for hours and hours at a time, and it just starts to hurt after a while.
What is that? Hopefully you could kind of describe, I know we can't show, but what does loading at your knees
What's the
look
best
like?
way to do it? Like, imagine two straight legs here.
Okay, two straight legs.
Two straight legs.
No knee bend.
And then all of a sudden, you're just shooting your knees forward like that.
Got
right?
it.
And so you're sitting with your knees bent like that for hours, right? Rather than pushing your butt back a little bit and loading into your hips and your hamstrings, you're just shooting them forward for hours.
So does part of that, or how much of that has to do, Ty, with a wider stance? Can you load and actually load your hips and glutes in a narrow stance, or actually?
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do it in both. It's just some people don't know how to. Like they have never been trained or never been taught how to actually like load into their hips and hinge into their waist. So they literally don't know how to do it. And sometimes people have to be taught it. Like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
I was training a guy this morning and we were having that kind of conversation. It's like some players, it's not their fault. They literally don't know how to do it, and no one's ever told them how to do it.
Yeah.
So how would you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like loading into that, and then just, I mean, it goes into the other stuff too, where it's in pickleball, you're going to plant. You're going to stop yourself aggressively because you have to stop to redirect to another direction, or you got to run forward. If someone shortchanges you at the kitchen, you have to run forward, plant really hard, stop yourself, get the ball back over, then shoot your, press off and get yourself back up.
Yeah.
Right. And again, if you haven't been training and working out and preparing your body to do those things start to hurt after a while. Yeah. So that's another really easy one. That's really what I'm seeing a bunch is just underpreparedness to be playing and just excessively loading the knee all the time rather than loading in some other parts of your body to take some of that stress off.
Got it.
That's really what I've noticed a ton.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's get into this then. Most people listening, Ty, they could or could not have direct resources to a trainer or coach like that. And I would say most people may not. So let's just talk about warm-ups and how, like, what is the best case scenario? So you have, okay, again, random demographic here. We have like a 52-year-old male that hasn't played sports in 15, 20 years or whatever. They're playing pickleball a lot. They're getting into it. So obviously, like I know because I've worked with you a little bit, getting to know the individual, knowing how they move, all that's like very, very crucial and important. But obviously, you can't do that on a show like this.
Right.
But what's just a general warm up you would recommend for that kind of player, and how many minutes before they hop on the court instead of just dinking and then getting right to it? So just generally, what would you recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. And for people out there, like if we're, even in that demographic or not in that demographic, if you're just not super familiar with the world of just sports and warming up and all that stuff, keep it simple, right?
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Don't worry about, you're going to hear 100 different things from 100 different people. So keep it simple and find what works best for you. In general, give yourself 10 minutes, 15 minutes just to do a quick, simple warm up. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. But I would say we want to make sure we're doing a warm up that gets the entire body prepped and ready to go. Right. So, sometimes I like to have a bottom up approach. So starting at the ankles. So even just doing, pretend these are my feet, just doing ankle rocks, right? Going from heel to toe and just shifting your ankles back and forth, doing that.
Yeah, I got it.
10 to 15 times, right? And then I try to mix in, like, alternate between a lower body to an upper body exercise, keeping it simple. Do some arm circles, right? Arms straight, big arm circles backwards, big arm circles forwards. You could do like 10 on each side. Then you could go into, because most players, when you're at the court, there's a fence there. Go to the fence, hold the fence, and just do leg swings, right? So holding it, stand tall, legs straight, swing your legs side to side, 5-10 times, side to side, then turn, go forward, backwards. Then just do some hip opening stuff. So like imagine like you're stepping over a hurdle, open up your hip back and forth, 5-10 times.
Comment below if you maybe want a video on this. I don't know. Maybe we collab on that. I don't know.
You never know.
Okay, so go ahead.
And then upper body stuff, right? Like keeping the arms straight and trying to keep the arms straight and opening up, kind of making that T again, and then doing like a 45-degree T right here and doing a 45-degree straight line right here, like doing 8 to 10 reps there. Then you could go into use the fence if you need it, but like forward, backwards lunges where you have the fence to support you, right? If you need the fence, great. If you don't need the fence, great. But it's there to help you, just going back and forth, some squats. You could get all sorts of into it, but keep it simple for you.
Okay.
Don't overthink yourself into not doing it.
Got it. So all those things that you kind of mentioned, would those be considered as dynamic warm-ups?
Yes.
Okay, so those are dynamic. So let's say everyone knows listening what arm circles are, right? Little circles, you're like an airplane and you're circling. Okay, so what's the better warm-up? Both dynamic warm-ups, or is it enough to, like, what if you were to just go on a slow jog for like 5 or 10 minutes? Because this is sometimes what I do. Sometimes do you need the blood flowing in? Is that the main thing, or is it like your range of motion, things like that? Like, what would you recommend? So like going on a 5-minute jog, or actually doing all these things that you just mentioned? Like, what's the difference?
There's a lot of questions in there. We could attack each one. Sometimes, and it's not the answer everyone wants to hear, but sometimes the answer is it depends, right? There are some people where, a jog can be great, but, the purpose of the warm-up is to get us ready to prepare our body to compete. That's the purpose of this warm-up, is to prepare our body to go compete what we're going to ask it to do on the court, right? And so the jogging can be great for just a general, we're getting the heart rate up, we're starting to get our body loose and ready. That's great. But, we have to start mobilizing our joints, right? Your ankles, your knees, your hips, your shoulders, getting your core activated. And for certain people, some people need more of shoulder work to get that thing moving. Some people need more hip work. Some people need more XYZ, whatever. But if you're just starting off, a 5 to 10 minute jog is great because it's something.
Yeah.
That is improving. That is reducing your chance of getting injured better than just doing nothing and going on the court and you're like.
So 4 dinks is not going to cut it anymore.
No, unfortunately.
How about 5 dinks?
Now we're getting dangerous here. We're getting dangerous here with the 5 dinks. throw some backhand ones in there too. That'll warm me up.
Go.
But, a good rule, especially for those athletes who are, you're really trying to take this thing.
Yeah.
Like you have to, this is a non-negotiable now. Warming up, training, getting in the weight room, all that stuff's non-negotiable, right?
Yeah.
And like even just a simple process of do your general warm up first, right? That's the kind of stuff I just showed you a little bit, but we can go way more in depth. Do your general warm up, do your specific warm up, which is that's your dinking, that's your drops, that's your resets, your drives, that's your specific warm up. Then we go compete. General, specific, compete. Easy peasy.
Okay. All right. I like that, man. Cool. Stretching. Got a question on that, actually. Stretching before, stretching after, post-stretch, pre-stretch. How important is that? And obviously, I know when I was a kid, I never warmed up, but me understanding the difference between static stretches and even dynamic stretches, a lot of people may not even know what the difference is. So can you quickly go over that, and what does that look like? When do you do it?
Yeah. So a static stretching is, to, I guess, kind of give you a really quick and easy way for you to reference, is like bending down, touching your toes for like 20 seconds.
And I think when most people think stretch, like
that's what they think.
This is what maybe I'm different, but that's what I think of. I think of like touching my toes.
Yeah, like standing there touching your toes for 20 seconds, or giving me one of these where you're just sitting here pulling your arm across for 20 seconds, or giving me one of these and doing this for 20 seconds. It's like that static stretching can be really helpful to help you kind of calm down and relax and get your body to come down. But when we're getting ready to warm up, we're trying to do the opposite of that. We're trying to get it ramped up so that it can be ready to go. Now, I've done some static stuff where we hold a position for 10 to 15 seconds, but then we
before playing.
I've done some of that, but that's the beginning. Like that's at the very, very beginning of my warm up, where we might hold it for a few seconds and then we get out of it and then alternate and do the other side and then get out of it, and we're alternating and we're moving. So like it's like a static dynamic kind of thing.
Okay. Because I've heard, I don't know, is this true or not? I've heard like maybe if you go overboard, but you just warm up just with static stretches and that could hurt you. Is that true?
So one thing is I try not to be an absolute person where it's like, this is the absolutely only way to do this. This is the absolutely only one way to train, absolutely one way. I try not to be that.
You are absolute about warming up though.
Yes. Warming up and training is a non-negotiable.
All right.
That's where you get me. But, static stretching is just not great at promoting blood flow and getting you ready for to compete for your sport, right? That's where, and then we look at the other side of it, which is that dynamic movement, which is basically a lot of the stuff that I showed you, right? The ankle rocks, the arm circles, the leg swings, squatting, lunging. We're getting blood flow. We're getting the joints moving. We're getting fluid moving throughout the joints and we're getting ready to go, right? And not only that, but now you're turning on your brain, right? You're getting, especially in the warm up, if you add a reaction component to it, now your brain's thinking, right? And especially for you tournament people who have those 7 a.m., 8 a.m. start times, and you're like half asleep and you're like, ain't no way, right? That's where the warming up is even more important, because you don't want to be that guy who just traveled who knows how far, paid how much money, and you're one and done. Thanks for coming, right? Because you were half asleep and you were groggy and didn't know what you were doing, right? And so that's why the warming up is so important, because the dynamic stuff, if I could offer you something that would improve your performance, reduce your risk of injury, get you more alert, more prepared to play, and react better on the court, and I told you it was legal and it was free.
Oh, legal.
Legal and free.
Drug-free, too.
Drug-free. It's a warm-up. That's all it is. It's a dynamic warm-up. Just do it, right? And if you don't know, ask somebody. Like, if you don't know how to do it, there's resources out there, but you got to ask.
Yeah, you got some resources on your Instagram, yeah?
Yeah, I have. So
what is your handle again?
Instagram at Real Coach Ty Woody.
Okay. Nice.
There's a super simple warm up on there that I think I have it pinned at the top. That go steal that, save it, use it. The first couple times you'll do it, it'll probably take a little bit longer, but as you get the hang of it, you'll fly through it like that. But that's not the only warm up you have to do. There's so many options out there.
Yeah.
You can use bands. Like I use bands when I go to a court. I tie a band down to a fence and I do some shoulder work and some core work and stuff like that. So the possibilities are almost endless. There's lots of things you can do.
Cool. So on the static stretching though, do you recommend static stretching after? Like,
oh yeah.
Is that really important?
Mm-hmm. So
and why? Like why? I get the non-static, what is it called? Dynamic in the beginning. You got to get blood flow. It makes sense. But why is static stretching important at the end then?
Yeah. So when we look at the post-play, so that's what we call the cool down, right? So the point of the cool down is to get us back to baseline, right? Getting us back to normal again. So when we play, especially in pickleball, we pulled ourselves forward, right? Everything we're doing in pickleball is pushing us forward. So we're excessively using, we're using the front parts of our body and getting more and more like this, right? Because we're just doing so many things that are pulling us that way, right? Then we look at our hips where we're hinged over, we're bending at the waist for hours at a time, right? We're bending our bodies and we're closing ourselves up. What the cool down is going to help us do is open us back up, right? Helping to put certain areas of our body to relax because we've just strained them. We just put a demand under them for hours. Now we want them to come back down, go back to a normal position so that they cannot be so tense and so stiff.
Got it.
Right? So that's where the static stretching can be really helpful, right? Even doing some simple dynamic stuff to produce, promote blood flow and help get some range of motion back, right? Because again, if we're playing pickleball all the time, we're flexing all the time. We want to make sure we still have extension and range of motion in certain joints.
Yeah.
So even doing some dynamic stuff afterwards to get our body back to normal is good. But the static stuff comes way more in handy. Even doing a nice jog, like what you said, you like to do that at the beginning. It's even good to do when you're done playing because you're getting blood flow moving again through your body. And you're just getting it back to baseline. That's the point of the cool down, is to get us back to baseline again, right?
Yeah. Okay, cool. What are some daily habits or exercises that you do? Like personally just for you?
Oh.
Or does it change? Does it change?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I will honestly, sometimes when I'm training people, I'll do some of the warm-up stuff with them. Yeah. Just because it gets me moving again. Like I'm always trying to do some type of squatting every day just to get the hips moving, just to get yourself moving and feeling a little bit better. Like when I go into the gym, I will always do some type of like rowing or shoulder work just to loosen myself up and just to get everything moving again, right? I mean, in life, you take pickleball out of it, life, we sit for so long and we are hunched over all the time. Like we're on our cell phones, we're doing all this different type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I know how I feel after just a couple hours of sitting doing computer work. So like I'll just go into the gym and just do some simple stuff just to get myself moving again. So like squats and rowing and face pulls and all sorts of stuff. And I know some people may not know what that means, but we could do some videos maybe in the future where we can show some more of that stuff. But yeah, that's some of the stuff I like to do.
Cool, man. No, that was good, dude. I mean, I think it was a good intro to, for play. I thought it was a good conversation. And I just think that a lot of people could find value from it. I don't know, I guess, as we wrap it up, like what are some things, Ty, that you would just tell the average person? I mean, I know we talked about warm up, or anything else that they can, like, that would just help them out with their game. Or one closing thought.
I'm trying to. I know. Now it got me thinking for the average player that's just kind of like getting started, or just recreational.
Recreational, yeah. I mean, if we look at the game here, like I would say 99% of players are that. Is that person that loves the game and they don't warm up. Sometimes that's me, but I'll do 5 minutes of something now.
Hey, better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, besides the warming up, I mean, just have fun, man. Have fun and enjoy playing the sport. Just enjoy this stuff and don't take it too seriously. I think we all know people that take it way too seriously. It's like, relax. Relax and just enjoy what we're doing.
Especially if you're playing recreationally.
Especially if you're playing recreationally. Just
come on, people.
Enjoy it. Have some fun. And listen to your body. I think listen and respect that you're playing a sport.
What is a good way to...
I got one more
go
thing
ahead.
too. Other thing would be learn how to say no. It is okay to say no. Whether that's, let's play one more game. No, my body's done.
Comment below, okay? This is what I want. I want everyone to comment below the most games you've played after you said it was your last game.
This is my last game.
And if anyone is over like 10, that's pretty.
It's like
pretty epic.
2 hours later. 2 hours later is my last game. 2 hours ago.
So I like that, Ty. Learn to say no, but just really quick on that, listen to your body. How do you do that, or what's this example that you can give? Like, basically, if something is hurting, you got to address it, that kind of thing? Or do you think most people just kind of achy and they rest it for a day and then just keep going? Or like, how do you go about that part?
It's going to be the answer you don't like, and it depends.
Okay.
Sometimes just use common sense. If your shoulder's hurting, maybe we should stop doing the same motion over and over again that we're doing. Like, let yourself rest and recover, right? If your knees are burning and screaming at you, maybe that's a sign that we're done. If your feet are killing you, maybe that's a sign that you're done. It could be just because it's sore because you're doing a motion that you haven't done a whole ton. It could be your mechanics are really bad, and so you are just straining the life out of your shoulder. And this is the early signs of, we got to change something here because you're hurting me, right? You shouldn't be walking off the court every single day with your arm dangling. Like, if you're walking off the court every single time and you're like, this really hurts, this really hurts, that shouldn't always be the case, right? At a certain point. That doesn't mean something's torn or something's broken, right? But your body's telling you something. Okay, why is this hurting? Am I hurting because I'm mechanically breaking down? Am I hurting because I'm just not, again, that's an underpreparedness, right? My body's just not used to this, and it's just like when you work out, right? You bicep curl and it's really, really sore for the first 2 weeks, and then week 3, week 4, it's not so sore anymore, right? It was underprepared. Now it's stronger and it's good to go, right? And so that's why it depends. There's not like a surefire way to know 100% it's this or it's this. But listen to your body. If you're noticing sharp, ow, this really, really hurts.
That's sharp. The sharp ones aren't good, I'm assuming.
Sharp ones aren't good. Like, something you should probably stop. Right? Say no. And be like, hey, I'm done for the day, right? Or, even if you're playing, or like you're trying to improve and get better, at a certain point you're going to hit the wall. Like, I know after maybe 2 hours,
figuratively or literally,
you could literally run into the wall in the indoor facility, or run into the fence because you're just so tired. And I know for me, drilling past 2 hours, it's counterproductive. I'm like, I've hit the wall. I'm not going to get any better. So learn to say no and listen to your body.
There you go. Well, thanks, Ty. At Real Ty Woody.
At Real Coach Ty Woody.
At Real Coach Ty Woody. Hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. Get out there, everybody. Get out there. If you love the sport, that's the thing. This is for myself too. If you love the sport, you want to play it a long time, you gotta take care of your body, right?
Have to.
There it is.
It's a non-negotiable.
Yeah. So follow Ty. We'll have everything in the description. Ty, man. We may collab in the future. We'll see.
Hey, we'll see what the heck happens. But I appreciate you letting me come on.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next pod. Ty, see you later.
Have a good one.